Language difficulties, different childhood experiences, fear of new environment, homesickness, these are all the mixed obstacles that an international student will experience in their first term at rugby. I remember that in the first week of F block, I was always quite timid, as I couldn't quite catch the flow of conversation, and my friends all spoke very rapidly in English. It was slightly better in the lessons because at least I had some textbook for reference. The daily conversation around British culture, something that everyone seemed to be a part of, was as foreign to me as I was to them. Conversation reminiscing about childhood TV show would get completely over my head. Honestly, who is Arthur this time? Getting the grip of all the confusing British slang on top of getting used to all the elusive rugby school jargon can feel alienating and overwhelming at times.
Being an international student at rugby means that you're part of this diverse and ever-growing community. A community that is home away from home for some people, and for the others, a chance to engage with internationals, sharing stories and happy moments. However, other times it can be difficult to feel culturally represented, seen, and heard. The comments, microaggressions, and jokes can make you feel sidelined or left out from the normal British culture. Political issues and assumptions always end up being fired at international students as individuals. There is a fine line between a joke being funny and being offensive.
Being an international student, a common question we often get is how to say a particular phrase in your native language. Usually, this can be a rude phrase, but other times it's somebody wanting to say something funny in another language. Assuming that one is fluent in the language of their home country is setting them up to feel disappointed when they aren't. It is questions like these, asking about demanding knowledge of petty or very specific details from within such a vastly diverse area as national culture, that makes us, international students, feel as if we are failures for not being experts at our cultural history.
There's a thin line between being curious and being offensive. For example, when people ask how to swear in your language and repeat it whenever they see you, it could be very tiring. As a novelty, it is amusing, but not when we are tired or when we had a bad day. Chanting around the swear word you just learned or teaching it to others could be disturbing to us. While we know you may not mean to offend us, it could still make us feel uncomfortable or even humiliated. It is important in any social interaction to recognize where the line is between being funny and offending someone.
Whether it be French, German, or Spanish, most of us learn foreign language during a tenure with GCSEs. During the lessons, if you don't understand something, there's always an option to switch back to English to ask for help. For a lot of international students, though, the luxury is not there. In a world where virtually no one speaks your mother tongue, it is very hard to communicate. We had to learn a new language while trying to settle into a new school in a foreign land.
Misunderstanding about Afro-Caribbean culture relies heavily on media portrayal. Western media often depicts Africa and the West Indies as poor, desolate regions with little to no hope of a brighter future. This is often accompanied by pictures of stagnant water, rural villages, and destitute people begging for food. Only when they are surrounding an often Caucasian aid worker taking a selfie on their iPhone do they seem to smile. And to be completely honest, these hardships do exist in the Afro-Caribbean world. But we are so much more. We are an infinite number of cultures that blend seamlessly into states. We have so many beautiful languages that are not confined to lines drawn on a map. While the African continent comprises of only 54 countries, we boast over 3,000 different ethnic groups, most with their own culture, food, and sense of heritage. We are doctors, lawyers, students, entrepreneurs, and the list extends further. We are so much more than what the media portrays us to be. I remember a weird trend on the internet. It involved non-Afro-Caribbeans trying Afro-Caribbean food. While I am not one to gatekeep culture, I would be lying if I said I didn't think about it during that period. People would try the food, gag, and then speak extensively about how disgusting the food was, all for some likes on the internet. What they may or may not have realized is that they had reduced the complex flavors of ethnic dishes to a singular word, disgusting. They made it incredibly difficult for anyone of Afro-Caribbean descent to share their cultural food with anyone, for fear of being embarrassed in public.
Another aspect of Afro-Caribbean culture is its clothing. Traditional clothing differs from tribe to tribe and is such a beautiful thing that is frequently disrespected or misunderstood. From the appropriation of waist beads and the generalization of Ghanaian kente cloth, clothing may not be incredibly significant or important in the Western culture, but it is an important part of the Afro-Caribbean culture. One person cannot express how much the Afro-Caribbean culture has been misunderstood, but we hope to educate you, to enlighten you, and to make sure the world has a clearer picture of what the Afro-Caribbean culture truly is.
Some cultural misunderstandings about Asian culture are around what people eat. A lot of this is just offhand speculation and spreading misconceptions without any context or understanding of the culture. This increased after the outbreak of COVID-19, as the media emphasized how different our diets were compared to the West. As Asian children, we're drilled to emphasize politeness and not making a scene if anything happens. Tolerance and apologetic mannerisms are seen as integral to many of our countries, which can cause confusion when we encounter such insensitive questions. It can get overwhelming, and being continually asked about your political views or being expected to be educated about your own country or culture by others.
A prejudicial issue shared between people of South Asian descent is being classified as non-Asian when they don't fit into the preconceived stereotype of what an Asian should look like. Despite Asia being the largest continent in the world, with hundreds, if not thousands, of ethnicities, those from Eastern Asia, such as China, Japan, Korea, are the only ones people identify as Asians. As Chinese students last year, we drew the short straw with COVID-19. A lot of us did remote learning stretching into the early morning, not to mention those of us who haven't been home for more than a year. We still suffer from the judgments and jokes about us being the origin of COVID-19. We feel frustrated, scared, lonely, even if people are just talking about COVID at that time. We fear, because it happens all too often, that people will come up and attack us by implying or even stating we are personally responsible, which is bizarre and very offensive.
Most of the time, being an international student is a fun adventure. There are many small and heartwarming moments that we will remember forever. My happiest moment as an international student was when I learned how to make banoffee pie while staying with my guardian. My happiest moment as an international student was when I finally found people with similar backgrounds and interests that helped me feel part of a community. My happiest moments have been sharing childhood stories and experiences and learning about each other. Learning that our similarities are more important than our differences. And it has made me feel grateful to be an international student.
We live in a multicultural society, and it is very important to embrace that by being open to all cultural perspectives, not just your own. However, we don't want to make different cultural backgrounds to be an awkward subject, and we want people to be encouraged to explore and enjoy different cultures. And that is the ultimate purpose of this year's Cultural Week, as well as to raise awareness of different student experiences within school. On the queue for this week, we have TED Talk and Movie Night, as well as a fair on Sunday called Matsuri, which means festival in Japanese. Japanese Embassy's chef Hayashi is coming in to do food cooking demonstration, followed by food tasting, and local Chinese restaurant owners coming in to show us dumpling making. And there will be student-led food stalls, snack stalls, traditional game stalls, as well as talent show. That will be an exciting event to come along and spend a couple of hours on your Sunday. Thank you for listening and enjoy what's to come. Have a nice day.